Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to First Unitarian Church in New Bedford. I am Karen Anderson, and I minister to this congregation as we minister to each other. I'm going to skip the usual stuff we go through here at the beginning of our service, because this week's service is a little different. It has to be a little different. It's the time of year when we honor those who have gone before us, the ancestors of this congregation. We will certainly do that. We will primarily do that. But we must also share the stage this week with this election that's taking place in just a couple of days. And I know that we're all a little anxious about how this is going to play out in the weeks and days and weeks to come. So today, let's find a balance. Let's draw upon the power of our ancestors here who fought for civil rights, who fought for women's rights, for the rights of indigenous peoples worldwide, who fought for immigration in our community, immigrants in our community, and fought for justice and dignity for all people. It seems to me that this might just be the perfect time to call upon the ancestors of this place. And maybe this service is exactly what it needs to be. These things are woven tightly together here, our past and our present. And we honor these deep connections in this sanctuary. Last week, watching Yasmin and Randy, and watching Martha, who was in my class when I was an RE teacher, playing and singing, and who's become such an amazing, strong woman, I was overcome once again with all the reasons I joined this church myself over 20 years ago. As much as we like a little structure in our services, we are more than happy to do something different. We relish the creativity that our congregation has. We love Yasmin's services, not just because she's awesome and always delivers a great message, but because we also never know what cool things she's got in store for us, what kind of props she's going to use, or what kind of astounding musical guest she might invite. You can say the same about how Randy surprises us week after week with music we might not expect, we might not hear anywhere else, but are so glad we are there to hear his interpretations. I love that our congregation keeps it real and honest and fun, and that we try our best to include everyone and make everyone feel welcome. I think what we have here at our church is rare and beautiful, and if you'd like to be part of it, we'd be pleased to welcome you into our merry band of seekers. So next week we'll have a little discussion group following the short service and speaker, which will probably be me. And there may be a lot to discuss, or we might be celebrating. Either way, please join me on the Zoom call after next week's service, and we can check in with each other. So that's next Sunday. I hope to see you there. This morning, I will light our chalice in the words of our former minister, Orville Dewey, who was here 1823 to 1834. How many a knot of mystery and understanding would be untied by one word spoken in simple and confiding truth of heart? How many a solitary place would be made glad if love were there? And how many a dark dwelling would be filled with light? Our opening words this morning are also from Orville Dewey. The dead carry our thoughts to another and nobler existence. They teach us, and especially by all the strange and seemingly untoward circumstances of their departure from this life, that they and we shall live in a future state forever. Now, I loved that last week Yasmin included a greeting. It's almost like I got so used to being here alone with Randy that I forgot we should still make a little time to greet each other in the spirit of worship and love and togetherness. We know the faces that we would see here every week. We know their voices and what they like to talk about. So let's just take a moment to greet each other in spirit, feeling our togetherness even though we're apart now. I send my love and greetings to you all, and let us likewise send our greetings to each other. I'm going to give you a big virtual hug right now. Ooh. So in the spirit of togetherness, let us recite the covenant of this church. We come together as a religious community, upholding freedom of conscience, right relationship, and the inherent worth of all people. We value our diversity and pledge to care for one another in the spirit of compassion, to speak and listen to each other with respect, and to promote justice and kindness in the world. Our hymn this morning will be number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
Sing our thanks and praise, for our life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. And all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our
Now is the time in our service where we share with each other our joys, our concerns. We light a first candle for the democratic process and love and respect for all of those who fought for your right to vote. If you're a woman or a minority, you know what I mean. Blessed be this freedom, and may every one of you use it on Tuesday. We light a candle of concern because our numbers of infection in this country and here in Bristol County are rising in disconcerting numbers right now. So we pray for all of those who are sick and all of those who fight every day on the front lines of this virus to protect us. Wear your masks, people. It's real easy. I light a candle of love and appreciation for my mom, Kathy, whose birthday is tomorrow on All Saints' Day. And she's been nothing less than a saint to me through some very tough times. So thank you, Mom. Happy birthday. For all you do, I love you. I light 2 candles now of love and concern because I am the mother of twins. One for my son Dylan, who is in the hospital right now in Boston, and honestly, he's fighting for his life. So all of your prayers and support are appreciated. And Beth Israel Hospital is giving him the best possible care, and I send my love and thanks to all of their staff there. And the second candle is from my son Ian, Dylan's twin, who is afraid for his brother, as we all are, but might just need a little extra love and prayers and healing this week too, as we go through these challenges. I light a further candle of gratitude for Chris McGowan, my kid's dad, and all the support that he and his partner Lisa have been giving to Dylan and to his brother and to me. I just don't know what to say except thank you and bless you for your fortitude. And a candle of thanks for all the love and support that everyone has shown me during this trying time. It showed me in 100 ways what shared ministry means at its heart. We are here to care for one another. And that's such a solid and reassuring thing. Thank you. And I'll light 2 final candles, as is our practice here, one for all the joys and the sorrows we keep in our hearts today, and one for everyone who has yet to find a safe and secure place to share their joys and their sorrows. First reading this morning is from Frederick Douglass. Let me give you a word of the philosophy of reform. The whole history of the progress of human liberty shows that all concessions yet made to her august claims have been born of earnest struggle. The conflict has been exciting, agitating, all-absorbing, and for the time being, putting all other tumults to silence. It must do this, or it does nothing. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one or it may be a physical one, and it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue until they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Let us enter now into the spirit of prayer and meditation. Let's take a few deep breaths together. Stretch yourself up and out, surrounding the whole globe and seeking out other points of light and love, and bring that energy back into you. Share your own wellspring with others if you've got it to give. Inhale the support we're giving each other, and exhale the love and care we have for each other. Buoy each other up through these anxious days to come. So let's take a deep breath for today. Let today be your Sabbath, a day of rest after this long fight. You know how much energy you've put into this election and this crazy season. So just take a breath and center yourself. Just be okay right here and right now, knowing that you're surrounded by loving friends, thoughtful people, and peaceful warriors. Okay, now let's take a deep breath for tomorrow. Tomorrow, breathe and remind everyone everywhere to vote. Tomorrow, breathe and post on your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter account urging your friends to vote. Reach out and ask if anyone needs a ride to the polls or if they need help figuring out their polling place. Tomorrow, gather your resources. Get ready. Steady yourself, church. And breathe. And now breathe. And let's picture Tuesday. Tuesday morning. Open your eyes first thing and breathe deep. With me, with this country, as we rise to cast our votes in what is already shaping up to be an election with numbers of people voting in our country that we might actually be able to be proud of this year. Let us breathe for all of those who will have to stand in line for hours and hours in blaring sun or freezing cold to cast their vote. Let us breathe for all of those who want to be sure their absentee vote is counted. Let us breathe for all those, for all of us who will be holding our breath on Tuesday night, even if we know it still might not be over come Wednesday morning. Now shake all that off. It's okay. We've been through it now in our heads. We've practiced it. We'll be able to get through it. So let's just breathe together. Drop your shoulders, relax your belly. Let your tongue drop from the roof of your mouth. Be here, be okay for the moment at this crossroads where anything can happen and still might, but also where hope and truth live, and maybe even a little bit of faith that change happens when it must, and that the universe somehow unfolds as it should. Let us breathe together. And with love for each other and our community, with hope for our country and our world, and with faith that we are stronger together and that love will prevail, let us say, Amen, and so may it be. Our second reading is sort of a memorial for all ages. It's about the women who made our footstools. At Edna Thone's memorial service in 2015, I put the footstools that she made up in front where her whole family could see them. And it gave them some comfort to know that her creative energy, which manifested here, would remain in good company for years to come. I don't know if the women who made these footstools realize how their efforts would make this sanctuary a place where you can feel safe, where you can feel clearly the spirit of this place and the camaraderie and all the love they put into this project. All I know and all I feel is that I couldn't imagine this sanctuary without these footstools. It's a very big part to me of what makes this place unique and sacred in its own right. And they tell us a story, each one of them. Each is an individual work of art. But they also tell a story that I love to sort of share here. I've been in this church for over 20 years, and I've appreciated and handled every one of these treasures. And we have this story for all ages quite literally under our feet when we sit in our pews on Sunday, which we will do again someday, I promise. These are not kneelers. As you can see from one of these smaller examples, these are not kneelers, folks, though you're welcome to use one as such. And goodness knows I have. They're here to be functional. They're here to rest your feet on. They're here to feel just a little warmer on a cold day. And maybe that's a perfect metaphor for what the essence of this church is and has been for a very long time. A place to find warmth and welcome, spiritual refuge, and challenges for your mind. A place to put your feet up, feel safe, and feel surrounded by friends. The beauty of these individual artworks is astonishing to me sometimes, and I can see and feel the love and care that went into each one from start to finish. I know the story of how they were made and how Julia Daly affixed most of these artworks to the bases that they're on. But the story that I really love to share when I bring people on tours is how, as this project as it went on for a generation, the names changed when the women who signed them, they signed them on the bottom over the years. And there was a point that we can see happen when women took control of their individuality. For instance, an early stool on the bottom, you might read that it was done by Mrs. Kenneth Purse. But over a few years, it just said Maggie Purse. And it happened when change was taking place in our country that made a difference for the rights of women and for all people, regardless of their race or religion or culture. And these footstools are kind of a legacy to that period in time, as well as to the men and women, our ancestors here, who brought this amazing decades-long project to fruition. The beauty and challenges of a congregation with a long history are numerous, but I think, like having really good parents, the influence of those who came before us remain long in a church like this. And they've given us some good examples as to how to be good neighbors and friends to each other. So for all those who came before us and inspire us, I light this special candle of remembrance and ask for our ancestors to be with us here I ask for their wisdom and strength to guide us through the difficult days ahead. Now is the time in our service where we would ask you for your kind donations toward the good works of this church. We thank you for everyone who is still sending in their pledges and their donations to 71 8th Street, New Bedford, Massachusetts, 02740. And if you go to our website, uunewbedford.org, and scroll all the way down, you will find a donate button there as well. And we thank you for your donations. Now, I've got every chalice we've got here to light. So in preparing for this service, I searched my files for the other ancestors' services we've done here in the past, and came across the first one that I did when I was called to service here as a contract minister in 2015. And it's actually 5 years to the day that I talked to you about Edna Thone, and she had just recently passed away, and the Footstool Project, recalling all of the women, past and present, who took part in creating these magnificent works of art. It was the same day that Bob Piper, in his recollections about former members, revealed to us that Gladys Goldberg's mother cheated at bridge by pretending to be bad at math, and that someone always had to check her scoring. There is video evidence of this somewhere. Bob Piper, who served this church in many ways over his long membership here, passed away in May of this year, and we honor his spirit here. Our beloved friend Trudy Clark Santos passed away very unexpectedly in July. She was our tireless thrift store manager, and she dedicated so much of her time and energy to the women in our community. For that, we give thanks and we honor her today. We've also lost past members and continuing friends, Man Reed and Tom Ridson, this year. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing either of those men, but from the stories I've heard from those who did, they were good men, and they had a hand in shaping who we are as a church today, as we all do. So we honor Man and Tom and their spirits today. The weight of our history is palpable here. The feet that have walked these floors, the feet that have put their feet up on these footstools, rings out strong, years, decades, and centuries after they've shuffled off their mortal coil. And this is a benefit of membership we don't often think about. We make history here. We make history now, as much as anyone has ever done in our past. We come here, become part of this congregation, gather and covenant together on Sundays, join committees, create policy, care for and listen to each other, laugh together, share our stories, and share the work that goes into making a strong church full of life and hope. For 182 years, this building has been shaped by the hands and the voices of its people. We are the hands and the voices that shape it now, in the present. But we honor those who have come before us. They're not just names. They did the work, hard work, along the journey, and they are part of this long and beautiful story that is our congregation. And I can hear the voices of Joan Boucher and Trina Costa and Jackie Van Voris and Trudy loudly yelling in my ears right now, saying, "Enough about the past, tell the people to vote, for God's sakes." And I'm pretty sure I don't need to tell anyone in this congregation to vote. I know the kinds of responsible citizens that roam Unitarian churches all across the country. I will nonetheless say this again, to go Tuesday and vote. If you haven't already, get out there. Get your friends out there. Get your parents and your kids out there. If you need a ride, let someone know. Reach out to friends who might need a ride. This is such an important election. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. And that includes the duty to vote and let the diversity of the voices in this country be heard. So many have fought for so long for this right. Everywhere you go, make it known that you stand on the side of love and resist hate in all its forms. That you believe Black Lives Matter, that every human deserves to be happy and to prosper, that science is real. I don't believe I have to say that, but I do. That we manifest hope and kindness holds us together. We know what makes us strong as a people, and it has nothing to do with all that seems to divide us. It has everything to do with the values that most of us share. Believe it or not, especially in times of crisis. When an old man falls on the street, does anyone with a compassionate bone in their body walk past him or ask him what his politics are before they help him up? No. The Good Samaritans come running to help. And it doesn't matter what their politics or beliefs are either. Who would walk away and not help someone who was just in a car accident in front of them? Who would leave a toddler to wander regardless of the color of their skin or their immigration status? We know in our hearts that most people are of good enough conscience that they would help in a split second. It happens all the time. And it gives me hope and strength that we Americans are essentially good people, left and right, and that many of our divisions can still be mended. So at this time of year, when the veil between worlds is thin, we call upon the ancestors of this church who fought for civil rights, for social justice, who cared for the poor and helped the homeless, who regarded every life with dignity, who helped others to prosper, who captained ships and died at sea, who stood upon their principles in the face of adversity here in this place. We ask those ancestors to protect us in these challenging times, to lend us their strength for the fight ahead, and to bless us on our journey as we continue the good work they started here. May our past bring us power. For all that is our life and those that have come before us, we are grateful and say amen and blessed be. As we extinguish our chalice today, These are not just names we speak. This is the long memory of our congregation, the hands that have done the work to bring us here. Once you become part of this, your energies create the future. You all shape what we will become, what the future will honor as sacred. This is a great privilege and a great responsibility to be part of something that has such a long memory. May we be worthy of the task and summon the strength to create a prosperous and bright future. So may it be, church. Hold fast, my brothers and sisters. We'll see what this week holds for us. Be well, my friends. We'll see you next week.